Three more, three more, three more hours of it. Welcome to the podcast.
Yo,
I'm gonna start.
What's
That's
up?
how I'm starting it this week. Welcome to the podcast.
What's up?
To Time Played 3HR, a podcast in which we play video games for 3 hours and then talk about them. My name's
Yes. I'm Lochie.
Lee. And today we are going to talk about a little-known indie game called Undertale.
Yes.
I played it. Turns out I had played 5 hours already.
Uh-huh.
And I have now played almost 3 hours. A legitimate almost 3 hours. And I did that today and yesterday. And you've played it and beaten it, I guess?
Yep, I played it once. Started a second playthrough, which I haven't finished yet because it's hard.
Yeah.
And we'll go into that later. But I think you touched on something which we should address, Louis.
Yeah.
Which is apologies for our Half-Life episode for all those who listen to it.
Yeah.
Because our show 3HR,
Yeah.
where we play 3 hours of a game,
I mean,
Louis, in fact, I caught a glimpse of his Steam profile.
yeah.
Fortunately, he bought it independently because he didn't have my deets.
Yeah.
And so I saw in his account that he had only played 1.6 hours of it.
Now, which is almost 3 hours, I would say.
Which is half.
I mean, you know what they say? When you're halfway on a plane flight, you don't turn around, you keep going. So I'm rounding up.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm rounding up here, and I've done 3 hours.
You don't just jump out. You don't just hop out. You sit down, you buckle up, you watch the rest of your tiny movie, and you land.
Oh, it was Half-Life 1. Everyone knows
Maybe your
Half-Life
opinions
1.
would have changed. Maybe the game wouldn't change, but maybe your views on it would change.
Yeah, well, I've definitely played more than 3 hours of Undertale, so I feel like I can talk about it.
Yeah, great. I'm looking forward to it. It's an ideal week as well because it just came out on PS4
Yeah.
in all around the world, including the recent Japanese port.
Ah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I played it on Steam. Where do I start? So, the reason I didn't finish it in the first place was just one of those things. Video games often disappear from one's brain, and then you just kind of move on and you forget about it. And I think I have a tendency of like giving up on games after I complete something that's challenging. I don't know about you, but like
Okay.
when like I do something where I've like died a few times or a bunch of times, and then I finally beat it, and then I go, oh, cool, I did the thing, I feel good, and then I kind of put it down, and then I forget about it.
Yeah.
So I had just beaten the first time. I assume you fight her multiple times, Undying, right?
Yeah.
So I had just beaten her. I think I maybe walked a little bit further through, but that was basically the last sort of climactic event.
And remind me because I think that Undying fight is a great fight.
Yeah.
From what I remember. And maybe Undertale, for those who don't know as well, we should
Yeah, we
talk
should
about
do
what
it,
it
'cause
actually
it's
is.
it's a hard one to describe.
It's cool. We saw each other the other day and we were talking about pinning it down.
Yeah.
And we sort of came to like, well, you take it away.
So it's like it's an RPG with sort of a combination of turn-based and bullet hell combat. And
That are sort of encounters. So it's sort of, I guess, yeah. You pretty much said it. Right. Like it's an RPG where you have encounters and you have boss battles.
I would also say it's like it's an adventure game.
Yeah,
in a more like traditional sense. Like I think the moment to moment stuff, actually the most interesting stuff in that game is just the text and the surprising events that you come across. It's like it's. I mean, RPG is actually probably a bad way of describing it because there's not that many role playing elements. There's no character creator there's nothing like that. It's very linear. It's like it sort of tricks you into feeling almost like it's not linear in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like there's this like it's very sort of, it manages to create a sense of scale with such limited assets and linearity, which is really impressive.
And I think part of that in the fact that it is very linear in terms of like map wise and where you go and what you see. However, this game does have a lot of paths that you can take which lead the story down like vastly opposite routes.
Right, sure. So an interesting wrinkle to the game is that you can play it completely pacifist, which is how I've been playing it.
Yeah, same.
So I can't quite remember if the game like really introduces that concept to you or if
it doesn't at all.
It doesn't at all. I think it was just people were talking about it. So when it came out, so I kind of knew that you could approach it that way. And I just tend to do that if the game gives me that option, I'd always try to give that a go first. So that's I think what drew me to Undertale. And everyone was saying like the soundtrack was really good and stuff. And it was just a generally interesting video game. So yeah, as my first time through, that's how I've been playing it. And I think I get the sense that it makes the game a lot more challenging.
I think we should also say that this is a game made by a guy called Toby Fox.
Yes, with one person.
Very much a solo project, which is sort of what's so crazy about it.
Yeah.
But so I had a similar sort of thing where the game doesn't tell you that it's pacifist or pure pacifist, and you're sort of introduced to the idea that you come up with these encounters and then it says like fight or you can spare, and it's sort of your instinct in these games to just go fight because that's what traditionally you're so used to doing in these sorts of games. But you discover that the spare options in the pacifist mode, to me at least, seemed so much more interesting.
Yeah, constantly.
And had so much more depth than the battle mechanic, which is quite limited.
Yeah.
And the way these fights unfold without you actually having any conflict and sort of engaging in conflict and then resolving that conflict through pacifism is a really fun way. But the game doesn't even tell you at all about it.
Yeah.
I remember... and one thing, I don't know if you knew this because you haven't finished it yet, but I started it without knowing that you could do pure pacifism.
Right.
And I think I was doing that throughout the start. I think I maybe killed one person. And then at the start you're faced with Uriel, who's sort of this motherly manatee goat human sort of lady. And you fight her and you can hit spare her and it's like she doesn't acknowledge this. And it says that a few times, so I just presumed you couldn't spare her. And then I kill her, and then I find out that you can go pure pacifism, and that's only after like half an hour or an hour into the game, and I felt terrible. Maybe not even that much. And
So
it was like...
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, and so I restart the game, and it's one of those games that doesn't like hard restart. So you're introduced... There's a character called Flowey, who's this evil flower, who's quite a predominant figure, and he goes, "Oh, you're back, are you? You feel guilty about killing Uriel or something like that."
Yeah.
And I love it when games do that as well.
Yeah, I had the same experience.
Oh, really?
I bashed my head against trying to spare the goat lady for a long time, and then I just couldn't figure it out, so I just assumed she had to be killed.
Yeah, which is interesting because I think that's a sort of the true ending of that game in a way is pacifism, or how it's presented at least. But it's, you know, you're not presented anything to sort of hint that that's possible.
Yeah.
And you mess it up as soon as you kill anything.
Yeah.
which is what you'd naturally do at the very start. So it's...
Yeah.
I think it kind of, if you went in not knowing anything about this game, you'd have to do at least 2 playthroughs to even get that.
And that moment with that evil flower, where they call you out on restarting the game,
Yeah.
like genuinely like shook me. Like it just like like something inside me ruptured when that flower spoke, and because that flower is like impressively unpleasant.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I think it's a combination of like the simplicity of the drawing. Because this game has like a very simple like 16-bit, I guess, pixel art style. Like very like kind of like if everything was drawn in MS Paint and then you took the pixel count down, is kind of how it looks a lot of the time. Obviously better than that, but like as a
it's a very unassuming game,
sure,
I think, in
like,
terms of graphics.
Yeah,
like.
for sure. But and the flower is among that art style, and it's originally presented as like a cutesy little flower, and then it like turns this like evil face, and I think it has like some gross sound effect along with that, and it's like simple enough where it just like pokes you, especially when it's saying something that's that you feel genuinely bad about. So that was like a really, really good moment. I've been carrying that with me the entire time I played this game. Like every single time I spare someone, I'm still thinking about the fact that actually I know I still killed someone. Really, I've still killed someone.
Yeah,
and that can't be forgotten. And that's really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
To describe, I guess I kind of would like to describe maybe more how the combat and pacifist stuff works. So if you imagine like a Pokemon game, right? Instead of man, I couldn't describe a Pokemon game properly. That's a bad analogy. But if you imagine like any classic turn-based RPG, you have like a list of attacks you can do that will affect them in different ways. In Undertale you have those, but you also have sort of social or emotional versions of those attacks. So instead of just straight up attacking, you have like hug or approach or ask how their day was, or like things like that.
Yeah.
And so the challenge is sort of trying to figure out the emotional state of this enemy that you're sort of engaging with, and figuring out what their sort of emotional weaknesses are or their insecurities, and then finding the right one that like taps into that. And sometimes it's not like you're being nice to them all the time. You can be abusive to them to get them to go away with words. So like if someone's really insecure, you can tell them, if someone's really insecure about like the color of their hair, you can tell them their hair looks stupid, if it gives you that option, and then they might like run away, or you can then spare them, which is it's cool how it still has the same. It's cool how it still has the same level of interactivity as combat. It doesn't change the amount you're doing. It's not that when you're doing.
It's much more.
Yeah, that's true.
It's much more than regular combat.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think I've barely looked at it, right? So like the regular combat is just like a kind of like a golf, like when you play a golf mini game thing, right?
Yeah,
like
that's exactly
sort of
right.
A meter that goes back and forth.
What was that? Everybody's Golf.
Yeah, it's just kind of.
Did you play Everybody's Golf on PSP?
No, I didn't.
That was fun.
Yeah.
So I did a similar thing where my first playthrough, or 1.1 or whatever is after my little blip of this restart, was pacifism, and then I started a full kill everything run, and gameplay wise a lot less fun because the combat is just exactly that. It's a bar, and there's a red middle zone, and the little line goes across the bar back and forwards, and you hit it in the middle to get the most damage down.
Do you find it easier, like significantly easier?
I think it kind of is as well, because when you kill things you level up and gain like health.
Yeah, so it's on as a pacifist character, I'm still level 1.
Yeah, and that's, you spend the whole game with 20 health.
The only thing you get is money, and you get that if you spare them, but if you flee, you don't get anything.
Yeah.
And you can, to be honest, like most of the regular fights, you can just run away from if you want to. There's no punishment for it.
And also, I think we should mention that the combat is, so when you're attacking, when it's your turn, it's either these text-based emotional blah blah blah, or the combat with the bar. But when it's their turn, it's very much like the bullet hell section where there's a little box and you're a little heart, and they'll have a varying range of attacks that are normally pretty fun and quite funny, and you got to avoid stuff or whatever the gimmick is or the mechanic is.
Yeah, they'll often be, especially with like a boss fight, there'll be like specific gimmicks or like sort of funny projectiles that represent whatever this character is feeling or whatever, and they're sort of trying to hit you basically, and you're just avoiding it like asteroids or whatever. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It doesn't like, it's not one of those games that like begs me to play it. I find it's kind of like a book that's like good when you're reading it, and then you kind of forget about it when you close it.
Yeah, I get that.
And I like it. I think the things that I like the most that it is because this is made by one person, I think almost entirely. And because it's almost like they said, let's only focus on the small things. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like there's nothing is hugely detailed. Nothing is like grandiose or like everything is very humble, which means that they can focus on, because of that simplicity, it means that they've focused on like every other little moment that you usually don't experience in games.
Right.
I'm trying to think of a good example of that, but I guess just even like every moment there is something kind of new happening, because everything is so simple that they have to constantly be throwing new little dynamics at you. So the bit I've got through now is with this guy that has a crush on me, this like scientist guy.
A girl, I think.
Oh, it's a girl. Okay.
Yeah.
And she like set up my phone to be on like a social media thing. So like every 10 seconds I get like a little message from them about, and they're like watching me, that I think I'm like they're like live streaming my performance. So she's like constantly talking about that. There's just like, the game is just constantly throwing tiny little moments at you, and it works, I guess, because it's written well. Like, it wouldn't work if the person writing this didn't know what they were doing with that stuff.
No.
It's just constantly, it actually makes me laugh, which most games I don't think do.
Yeah.
And like cute, subtle, not like gross kind of laugh at this ways. Just like this is like a cute, weird thing that's happening on screen right now. Yeah.
I think the characters are very well done and very varied with a lot of individuality.
Sure.
What was I going to say? I'll tell you what I think, how I sort of felt this game was like for me is, so I think because it's so purely like one person's vision, it kind of feels more like, whereas a lot of games will be, say, a TV show or a movie, this game sort of feels like a YouTube video in comparison. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So it doesn't have that sort of full production of, thought out by tons of people, and it's what you expect to see. It's just how you go through YouTube and find just some very super random videos, and it just feels like that.
Yeah.
It's like when you stumble across a ridiculous video where you're just like, oh fuck, this is great.
Yeah, because
what a video.
Because they can because it's just them, they can decide to like spend slightly more time on some dumb thing that they know that they can do just for fun, and not. Yeah, I guess that's what I mean when I'm talking about like the smaller details. Is like overall, it's like pretty sort of low. It's all at like a certain quality, and it's fine. But then just like there's constant little things that the developer clearly was just like trying to make this game, and it was like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I just did this tiny thing? Wouldn't it be funny if there were like 5 bombs to defuse for some random reason, and also now the text in the speech bubble is bombs also, because that's funny, just
Why
like
not?
constant. That stuff is like constant, but not overbearing. I think it's really well done.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess it also like gives you space as well. There's times when like it's just kind of quiet, and it's just music because the music's good, so you can just kind of potter about.
Yeah, there's some really great songs, like that Undyne song.
Yeah, yeah.
It's great, and I love the Snowed In Town theme.
I
I got them on a couple of my playlists, and it's like a great soundtrack. Which the fact that it's by one guy, pretty good, pretty talented.
Yeah, it's always mind blowing when someone, like the combination of doing game stuff, writing stuff, and also the music is always just insane.
Get me out of here.
Yeah, like also
I'm a celebrity.
like also doing the music.
Fuck, I'm
is
bailing.
just nuts.
I guess he just must have had experience doing that stuff.
Yeah, and I know nothing about him or where he's from or anything.
I follow him on Twitter, and I get he's quite a sort of rogue tweeter,
right?
Where he tweets a bit, and he often just it's either something to do with Undertale or just some really random shit. But he seems like a pretty cool guy. I think he's American.
Did he like work at like a big company before or?
I mean, he's only 25. Yeah, he's from Boston, Mass.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
It's pretty nuts.
I like when I type on this show, and you hear the typing.
The tippity tapping.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like
that's something I like.
You're busy. Yeah.
Art style, it's kind of weird. Like, it's pretty nice. It's just if you imagine someone drew a bunch of characters and made them the best they could in pixel art. I think where this game goes kind of great also is in some of the fights. Like, it's very simple the way the whole game plays out, but then in some of the fight sequence, especially with bosses, all the rules that have been established so far in combat are just totally broken.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't really remember the battles that well. I played it like 2 Christmases ago when it came out-ish. And this was, I think, another reason why I love this game so much is that it was a holiday game for me.
Right.
Where I got it in Australia. No, I got it before I went to Australia for holiday. So I just spent it, on holiday playing games. And I think a holiday game is always, in a way, that like a holiday book, not that I read.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like it.
Yeah.
But how these rules get totally broken in combat. So you're presented with the fight and you know what you're doing, and then suddenly, like, the box that you're used to working with changes shape, or things that normally only happen like in a certain way just totally flip, or I don't know. I just seem to remember that happening quite a bit, and you're like, okay, this is fun.
Yeah, so I'm
this
like,
is an interesting change.
I stopped on a boss fight with a spider lady, and in that boss fight, I think she like pours tea into the sort of the bullet hell box that you play within, and it puts you on these like lines. I don't really quite know what the metaphor is there, but I guess she's like a spider, so it's like spider webs. I'm not really sure. So you're forced onto this just like 3 lines, and you can go up and down these lines, and then slide along the lines left and right. And then she will send like spiders along these lines, and that's what you have to dodge. And then she gets her pet to chase you as you like climb this ever going set of lines. That's a terror. I can't imagine how that looks with that description, but something.
Nice.
Like that.
Wow, I see it. Oh.
Yeah.
It's all coming together.
Yeah.
Are you gonna finish it?
I don't think so.
No.
I like it a lot.
I think you should, because this game really came together in the later moments for me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like,
that.
I enjoyed it all the way through, but sort of reflecting on the last couple hours, I think the characters really sort of come through and really shine, and you're just like, oh.
Do you remember how long it is?
I think it was probably around 12.
I was hoping for like a 9-hour game.
I want to say, let me check Steam. Talk while I check.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of I kind of want to like completely wipe my brain of my knowledge of it and start again. and then go on like a 10-hour plane journey or something, and just sit and play it through. So I'm just forced to finish it because I would like to see it all, because the elements about that I really, really do enjoy. But it just doesn't it doesn't
grip you enough.
Grip me enough.
Anyway, if you play on PS4 and don't have a PC, I say go get it. You'll have a great time. I massively enjoyed this game.
Did it come out on the Switch?
It would make sense if it would. It seems pretty appropriate.
Yeah.
But it hasn't yet.
I would get it if I had a Switch.
If you had a Switch. Yeah, maybe me too.
Yeah.
We'll get Switches.
And then we'll play it.
Yeah, maybe we should both get Switches.
Mm-hmm.
We should just get the money together.
Okay.
Buy a Switch and do a special Switch edition 3HR.
Just
where
we only play 3 hours of the Switch.
Yeah.
And then we throw them away.
Maybe we could buy one Switch and then you play 3 hours, I play 3 hours.
And then return it.
And we sell it. Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
Or sell it on.
No, that...
Which would be super viable because of high demand.
Yeah, they go for more used at the moment.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw them on Amazon recently. I thought about it, but...
Yeah, I sort of... because game websites kind of tell you when they're back on sale, so I kind of half know when they're back on Amazon.
Always look at it and just be like,
yeah, it's like I could press that button right now, but maybe I'm not going to press that button.
Right but I probably shouldn't.
I have to pay bills and all those things.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because I never account for the games as well.
Yeah, and Nintendo games never drop in price.
So I'm always like,
it's
it's $280. Come on.
Yeah,
and then you're like plus 50 quid.
Yeah,
for
plus
a game.
Like Splatoon 2 will be 50 quid, and it's like
Zelda 50 quid, Mario probably like 45.
I guess Zelda you'd get Zelda first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to play Splatoon though a lot.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a Wii U.
Yeah.
And didn't play it other than at your house for a little bit.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, I think this game's just totally one man's child, and it's just like a pure look into one person's mind for what he wanted out of a game, and he did a very good job at executing it. And I think a lot of people, I'm sure, have already created very similar things because of it.
Yeah,
and I'm sure we'll see many more things set, especially in terms of sort of narrative.
Yeah.
With that sort of very jokey, relaxed, narrative.
I'd be really
These
curious
characters.
to see the kind of thing he would make next, like how you sort of follow that up.
I saw an interesting tweet actually that he did.
He did a tweet.
He did a tweet that said like, Undertale may be the thing that I'm most ever known for, but doesn't matter as long as I keep getting better and having fun.
Yeah, that's probably the right way to approach it.
So, which is pretty crazy because it's the same with anything really. Whenever you're young and you make one thing that blows up, I mean, I guess it's the same with most musicians. And a lot of industries where you just peak early. And with like certain 2 or 3 projects.
Yeah,
which
the
is a
first
pretty
or second is
pretty crazy way
always
to
the best
live.
thing you do.
Yeah.
For most people.
Yeah. Which is nuts and kind of spooky.
Yeah, kind of. But I think you got to learn that stuff doesn't really actually matter. You know, like
yeah.
As long as you're enjoying making the thing, like you just gotta just do that instead and not worry about. Because once the thing's done, and it's done, and then you kind of
there's no point looking back.
You gotta let it go.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, who cares if it's like people like it the most?
Yeah.
You might not like it the most. Like there's loads of stuff.
Also, in my experience,
anyone does that.
The things that I like the most are rarely the things that I make that I like the most are rarely the things. That
absolutely. Absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah, let's round this off.
Yeah. I think that's Undertale, man. I think we've done it.
Yeah, clean. Clean.
I just realized I did not think about something for you to play next week at all.
Hey, I did that last week.
But I don't have a list anywhere near me.
Fresh.
So
we can just hit them with the surprise.
yeah, so it'll be a handy dandy surprise, a Mandy.
Nice.
That old saying.
Clean.
This podcast, I don't know if you're aware of this, Lochie, but this podcast,
3HR.
Time Played 3HR, goes up every single Sunday, not a one missed.
I put them up.
It goes up on SoundCloud and iTunes and maybe some other places.
Yeah, YouTube coming soon, I think.
YouTube coming soon, that's exciting.
I reckon we maybe start with this one and maybe make like The Last of Us our first one we upload.
Okay.
Straight into this.
You think you've got time to do that?
Not today, not for tomorrow, but
we'll just put it up on like Monday or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or whenever, because I'm quite busy next week.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So whenever. But look forward to it.
Yeah. And then also sometimes Tumblr when I remember to click the button.
Yes.
And I think that's us, man.
Right.
I think we're done.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks
for talking.
Yeah, you too. Later. Bye.
I got 3 hours a day. I got